Here in New Zealand, we are stagnating, while the rest of the world changes rapidly around us. And if we are standing still, we are essentially going backwards. The next generation need leaders who won't flip-flop on critical policy every 3 years. Opportunity will send a new generation of politicians to Wellington. We reject the notion that industry and nature are in competition. We believe in a world in which businesses and government can work together on these solutions. Economists have sounded the warning, and opportunity is listening. In 2013, I was fortunate to travel to China for the first time with my siblings, my cousins, and my aunts and uncles. It was a pilgrimage of sorts to visit the villages that my grandparents had left behind in the 40s when they went to start a new life in Fiji. A safer life, a life of more opportunity for them and for their children. At my grandmother's childhood home, everyone was congregating in the backyard around a very small, nondescript concrete hole. Turns out it was a well that my grandmother had to hide in during the war when the Japanese were invading and they were looking for women and girls to take captive. It was a pretty harrowing thought to think of her at such a young age, bravely sheltering there for days. It was one of those moments in life where you suddenly see that thread that connects you to your ancestors. All of the moments and decisions that they've made that lead to your life today. I think of all the opportunities that I've had in my life, my safe and happy childhood growing up next to One Tree Hill, thanks to her bravery and her and my grandfather's subsequent decision to start a new life in Fiji. And I think about that ancestral thread now that I have my own kids, and I wonder, what choices will I make now that will better their life tomorrow? In 2050, my daughter Malia will be 30 years old, and Cleo will be 26. As they step into adulthood with all the love and the heartbreak and the wins and the setbacks that come with it, this is the New Zealand I hope that my choices create for them. By 2050, New Zealand is world-renowned as a place where innovation, combined with a deep care for people and nature, has created a high-value economy and a high quality of life. Malia lives in a modest but high-spec, energy-efficient apartment in a vibrant city fringe suburb. It's a cooperative housing project where residents all contribute to a community garden that provides cheap, healthy kai and an opportunity for neighbours to build strong connections. By mid-century, New Zealand cities have finally grown up and broken the false choice between density and livability. Yes, they are more compact, but they're also greener and more human. The quarter-acre dream has evolved into the quarter-hour paradise. Anyone who wants to can choose to live 15 minutes from work, friends' houses, nature trails, and a bustling nightlife. Malia barely thinks about the increase or decrease in the value of her home. She does not obsess about property in the same way that my generation did. Instead, she talks with her friends about what businesses they might build, what technologies they might pioneer, and what problems they might solve. Their Sharesies accounts, which they started investing in early with modest amounts, have now grown thanks to successful renewable energy projects and local innovative companies that are excelling on the world stage. My younger daughter, Cleo, at 26, is about to move to Taranaki to become a clean energy diplomat for the Pacific. Because New Zealand mastered affordable, abundant energy in the 2030s, places like Taranaki are now vibrant hubs from which we deliver virtual training and advice to our Pacific neighbours in order to further strengthen resilience of the region. Living outside our largest cities is now seen as a great opportunity to combine professional ambition with local connection and connection with nature. Our regions are places of a hotbed innovation where industries like farming and forestry now work harmoniously with nature restoration and tourism. In 2050, both Malia and Cleo listen to tui, kereru, kokako and kaka on their way to work every single day, because we delivered on predator eradication in the 2040s and we greened our cities so that the birds came back. It's a place where they can swim in any river, collect kaimoana on any coastline, because of decades of effort by communities, iwi and government. It's a place where they walk through thriving ngahere because we committed to reforestation projects like reclothing Papatūānuku, and as a result, carbon drawdown through native forests and wetlands has become New Zealand's greatest climate response, pleasing both Greenpeace and Treasury. Most importantly, in 2050, Cleo and Malia live in a far less divided New Zealand. It is not all kumbaya. Our leaders still debate the great challenges of the day. But our political news clips are less focused on finger-pointing and outrage and more on respectful dialogue about the issues. We are 20 years into a 100-year infrastructure plan that we agreed in 2030. And the government of the day still adds their own flavour to those projects. But the overall direction stays the course. And when politicians refuse to come to the table and work together, we bring the voices of everyday Kiwis through citizens' assemblies into the conversation to break that gridlock. This is the New Zealand my daughters and the next generation of New Zealanders deserve to inherit from us. But right now, that future feels very much like an out-of-reach utopia. A few weeks ago, the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney delivered a history-defining speech. And in it, he said, "The old order of the world is gone. We should not mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy." And he's right. Here in New Zealand, we are stagnating while the rest of the world changes rapidly around us. And if we are standing still, we are essentially going backwards. To build the New Zealand that we owe the next generation, we have to stop pretending that tweaks and managed decline are an acceptable response to the great challenges ahead of us. To fulfil our obligation to tomorrow, we must act today. And that action starts with honesty on three very important things: our politics, our economy, and our relationship with nature. First, we need to stop pretending that our politics is fit for purpose. The next generation need leaders who won't flip-flop on critical policy every 3 years or kick our slow burn crises down the road again and again. When successive governments focus their time on cancelling projects or rewriting policy under different language, they are wasting our time and our money. The next generation need leaders who respect our foundations like Te Tiriti o Waitangi for what it is, a gift from our past to our present and our future, and a genuine opportunity to build partnership amongst all of the people that call this place home. The next generation need leaders who behave with integrity, not schoolyard bullies who try to divide us simply to score a vote. When New Zealand First tells you that immigrants, transgender Kiwis or environmentalists are our problem, it is their politics of fear and division that is causing us harm. So, what will Opportunity do differently? Amidst a broken political system that is failing us, I want to say this loudly and clearly. Opportunity will send a new generation of politicians to Wellington. And we are going to bring a few things with us. Free of the ideological and party baggage of established politicians, we'll bring evidence-backed policies to Parliament. We'll bring integrity and honesty. We'll be clear with Kiwis about complex issues and the trade-offs, because we can't build a land of opportunity on half-truths, slogans, or avoidance. We'll be a kingmaker that accelerates progress by bringing the major parties together rather than pushing them apart. We will work with both National and Labour. We'll keep Labour honest on the economy, we'll keep National honest on the environment, and we will keep the extremes out of Cabinet. At a time when we feel our social trust and cohesion slipping away, come November the 7th, a vote for opportunity is a vote to stop the division and to send a braver generation of leaders to Wellington. If we're putting it all on the table, secondly, we need to talk about our economy too. Because we need to stop pretending that getting back on track is a viable strategy. That old track is gone. Every political party is going to preach to you this election about solving the cost of living and productivity crises. But their solutions, like lower interest rates, a few free doctor's visits, or some extra shows at Eden Park, are not the solutions to these problems. The reality is that the failure of successive governments to address our creaking systems is what is causing the compounding cost of living crisis we feel today. Behind every rising power bill lies a neglected energy grid that is old, dirty, and fragile. Behind every rent or house price spike lies a neglected tax system that perpetuates this economic fantasy that we can grow New Zealand by selling houses to each other. And behind every insurance hike lies neglected calls for climate action and a lack of leadership on managed retreat. Attempting to return to that old track, the do-nothing track, it's dangerous. The New Zealand deal is simple. You do the mahi, you get the treats. But that deal is broken, and we're starting to stare at a downward spiral. One where our young people see more opportunity offshore and leave, which slows down innovation and productivity, which reduces our tax base, which stresses our already straining systems, which is what causes prices to rise. Economists have sounded the warning, and opportunity is listening. So, what is opportunity going to do about our economy? Steve Jobs said that the way out of a hole is not to slash and burn, but to innovate. If the old track is gone, our only choice is to build the next one. Innovation is at the heart of our vision to make New Zealand the world's high-tech lab. We have a long history of world-changing ideas right here in Aotearoa. Opportunity will ensure we create the right environment so that our best innovators and business builders attract their talent and capital here, not overseas, because we will roll out the red carpet for them, not the red tape. The next economy must be powered by affordable, abundant energy. And that is why we are releasing our energy policy today. Without reliable energy, our communities and businesses cannot operate. And without clean energy, the cost of living and the cost of doing business will continue to skyrocket as the rest of the world phases out fossil fuels. That is why we will demand a bipartisan long-term energy strategy from whichever major party leads the next government. The ideas that we're putting on the table for that energy strategy include setting an ambitious goal to triple renewable electricity generation in the next 30 years, funded by the ring fencing of Crown dividends from our energy assets, approximately $500 million a year, simplifying oversight with a Ministry of Energy and a single modern energy regulator, and accelerating the electrification of our homes and businesses. Instead of sending billions of dollars offshore every year for oil and gas, we should be leveraging our natural strengths to bring electricity prices down for everyday Kiwis, ensure energy security for our homes and businesses, and clean our energy system. Enabling the next economy also means tackling our long-standing roadblock of overinvestment in property. A land value tax is the most efficient and effective way to unlock the enormous amounts of wealth tied up in property and redirect it to the hands of our young people, our innovators, our farmers and communities, where we can generate real economic growth. And it means, in 2050, If my daughters decide to have kids, I'll have a much better chance at watching them grow up here in New Zealand rather than over Zoom. We will also modernise our welfare system with a citizen's income. This is about ensuring that every Kiwi has access to the basics that they need, because we all work harder and better and smarter when we know that we have the security of a warm home, food in our bellies, and an ability to provide for our children. Particularly in a world on the cusp of AI-driven joblessness, we need a fit-for-purpose welfare system that ensures no one gets left behind, no matter what life throws their way. Lastly, but not least, if we are speaking openly and honestly about our great challenges, we need to talk about nature too. A member told me a story a few weeks ago that I wanted to share with you all today. He took his little boy out fishing in the Gulf recently, and they pulled up a snapper, and it was clearly malnourished, its features sunken away. Despite his son's begging, they decided not to take it home for a feed. Something has gone fundamentally wrong in this country when a Kiwi kid can't eat the fish that they catch. It's a sign of a broken economy, one where you can have a full bank account, you can even have a boat, but you still feel poor. For too long, we have undervalued nature. We have assumed that the beaches, the soils, the rivers, and the mountains that define us would always be there and always thrive. But we were wrong. Nature is not a bottomless pit that we can extract from and ignore anymore. It needs us just as much as we need it. So what is Opportunity doing about restoring nature? Opportunity will put nature where it belongs, at the very heart of our social and economic systems. When this party looks at the natural world, we see the solution to our mental and physical health crises, the solution to our climate resilience challenges, and a place where New Zealanders of all backgrounds can come together and unite. To deliver on these visions, Opportunity will take a unique approach, a teal approach. We reject the notion that industry and nature are in competition. We believe in a world in which businesses and government can work together on these solutions, where business models, investment, and policy are mutually reinforcing rather than undermining each other. A teal approach looks like supporting farmers to future-proof themselves through diversification and value-added exporting. A teal approach recognises that critical minerals are part of an electric future and that we can source those safely and responsibly. A teal approach means that unlike the Greens, we will work with whichever major party is in government and hold them accountable on the climate, because the environment is too important to pick a side and let it suffer. Our location here by the Hauraki Gulf today is intentional, because today we are also releasing our oceans policy. Healthy oceans are a core part of the New Zealand way of life, but our seas are hitting their ecological and economic limits. Our Healthy Oceans policy calls for investment in the blue economy, with a focus on things like sustainable aquaculture and offshore renewable energy. It also calls for us to build a modern, low-impact fishing industry based on a quota system that regenerates rather than depletes sea life. Healthy Oceans sets a bottom line where nature needs us to. We will end bottom trawling, because ripping up our seabeds to sell a few more boxes of fish fingers is not in the long-term interests of New Zealanders. My grandmother will be 96 this year. Her 5 children, her 10 grandchildren, and her 17 great-grandchildren are all living extraordinary lives thanks to the ambition that she and my grandfather had for our future. But that isn't a story that belongs just to me. I'm sure there are equally brave stories of all of your ancestors. That is the story of Aotearoa New Zealand. From the first Māori who navigated here with only the stars to guide them, to all the families who come to live and work here and call this place home. Our story is one of opportunity. This country works best when every Kiwi has the opportunity to turn effort, into progress. And when all of the foundations we need, access to nature, good jobs, future-fit education, capable leaders and affordable basics are ensured for all. A deep commitment to opportunity, the upward spiral, is what we will bring to Parliament. And for us to be good ancestors now, the next generation need 3 brave things from us. Stop the division, build the next economy, and restore nature. Come November the 7th, I urge every Kiwi who believes as we believe to party vote opportunity for our future. Thank you very much for coming today and listening.